lost my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side. Dark side.
What's going on? Why do I feel so drained? It's as if he's taking my energy somehow. Every attack he lands, he grows ever stronger and faster than before. Why didn't I recognize it? Man, this freak's even stronger than I thought. In terms of raw energy, he got us all beat. I can't even maintain this form forever, and it looks as if he hasn't broken a sweat. You. Father, said Gohan, I think it's time we step in. This monster possesses too many unknown abilities. We need to end him before he grows even stronger. Vegeta steered intensely across the battlefield, his eyes locked on with Goku, who anticipated what he was about to say. Kakarot, don't even think of butting in, I've got this. Destruction energy was the natural energy of the demon race. However, after his death, Irak had awakened the angel's divine energy that was lying dormant within him. The combined energy had linked together, creating something truly outstanding. Demon God Irak can perform every single ability of the angels in the demon race, along with new abilities that were unique to the merger of two different divine keys. Dark siphoning is one of those abilities. Vegeta's power had drastically decreased. Unexpectedly, the prince had fallen from Ultra Ego 3 back down to the level of Ultra Ego. Due to this fact, he lacks the stamina and energy needed to transform into his Omni form. The battle was starting to seem hopeless, as nothing he did seems to have an effect on the demon god. Vegeta, unable to completely comprehend why he had lost so much power despite not taking a direct hit from Demon Irak, had spoke. Something sinister is at work here. My energy, he muttered, it's being siphoned away from me. It's almost as if he's absorbing or stealing my divine energy somehow. Goku, who was on the sidelines observing the fight, decided it was time to intervene, as he felt that Vegeta wouldn't be able to defeat such a foe all by himself. Vegeta, he called out. It's obvious that you're not going to defeat him on your own. This being has too many unknown abilities. Absolutely not, yelled Vegeta. Kakarot, you stay out of this. I know I can defeat him. I just need more time to figure out how his abilities work. We need to be smart about this, replied Goku, as he understood that time was not on their side. You're only going to burn through your energy even further. Now is not the time to be prideful, Vegeta. We need to end this now. After absorbing Vegeta's Ultra Ego 3 energy, Demon God Irak at the far end of the arena was exploding with power. The god's strength had substantially magnified, so much that it had fully transcended the laws of the multiverse. Both an angelic and destructive energy was pouring out from all corners of his body. The aura was blinding as he started to take on an ultra form. Yes, Irak shouted. Some of his energy had escaped the null realm, managing to swallow up a few planets blocking its path. Yes, I've never felt such raw divine energy running through my veins before. Now this is the power I've longed for. Whatever it takes, I must consume more. Instantly, the evil god charges in at Vegeta with the goal of fully stripping him of what's left of his energy. Within seconds, the demon Irak had smashed through Vegeta's impregnable defenses. Irak was moving far too fast for the Saiyan to see. Appearing within the grasp of Vegeta, the evil god proceeds to violently attack the prince. However, Goku in his Ultra Instinct 3 form was tracking down the god's every movement from the moment he bolted off. With precise targeting, he teleports himself directly where he anticipates Irak moves would take him, while preparing to deliver a counterblow the moment he appeared. Block this, he yelled before launching a devastating blow to the face of the evil god. The force emitted from that punch was so overly powerful that a storm of shockwaves could be felt throughout the multiverse. That's a direct hit, yelled Gohan in excitement. Father has done it, Gohan, responded Broly, who was watching the fight ever so silently. Take a good look, this battle isn't over just yet. On the contrary, it has just begun. Unsurprisingly to the viewers watching at home, his attack did nothing to the evil god. Irak stood firmly like a tree, his feet planted in the clouds as Goku's punch had stopped on contact with his face. But how, said Goku as he was completely and utterly baffled. How strong is this monster? That was a clean hit, and it didn't even faze him. With Goku's fist still plastered to his face, Irak kept smiling. The sinister grin on his face was terrifying as it managed to send fear down the spines of the gods of destruction who all gathered on the outskirts of the arena, observing the fight all while staying vigilant in case of any surprise attack. "These fools have no idea what they're up against," said Iwan. "The more you hit him the stronger he gets and the weaker you become thanks to his dark siphoning ability. Iraq was truly blessed when he attained this ability." "Are you blind?" yelled Belmont. "Just look at him. Does that look like the face of the Iraq we know?" said Geen as he felt his input was needed. "That being wouldn't hesitate to kill us in the slightest." "What are you implying?" replied Iwan as he felt he was being attacked by his fellow gods. "You're so scared of dying that you directly go against the Grand Priest's wishes," yelled Champa. "He specifically told all of us gods that Iraq's special ability should never be activated under any circumstances. Now look at what you've done. Upon breaking the seal, you've activated his curse and released one of the evil gods upon the world." "Evil god," replied Iwan as he was quite confused as to what his fellow gods were talking about. "What are you fools talking about? Iraq isn't one of the evil gods. Those gods were sealed away millions of years ago. There's no way Iraq could be one of those things. Furthermore, why would the Omni King let him roam free?" "I didn't expect the god of Universe One to be so naive," responded Belmont. "Think about it. Iraq was the first ever god of destruction, also unlike us present-day gods who had to learn how to attain and control destruction energy. Iraq didn't need to do anything. Iraq is a demon. Therefore, he was born with destruction energy as it is the natural energy of their race. Even though the Grand Priest tried to cover it up, it doesn't take a genius to start putting the pieces together. Out of all the previous 12 gods of destruction, only 5 had figured out the truth about Iraq: Belmont, Geen, Sidra, Beerus and Champa. However, the theory they managed to come up with wasn't the whole truth. They failed to realize that Iraq wasn't an evil god, he was the son of one, a program from when he was just baby to one day free what remains of the primordial demons from their prison." "I don't believe this," said Hellas. "Iraq's one of the evil gods." "Yes," responded Belmont. "Now that it's out in the open, what are we going to do about the current situation?" "Nothing," replied Geen. "Why not just let those Saiyans continue to clean up Iwan's mess? Afterwards, when they have exhausted all their energy, we swoop in and finish them off." "A fine observation," said Quitella. "Why lift a finger when they can do the work for us?" Before Quitella could get another word out, the battle began once again. Vegeta and Goku simultaneously charge at Iraq with speed beyond time. Both sides traded blows after they came into contact. However, every blowing the Saiyans had landed was making Iraq stronger. Instantly, the god delivered a powerful blow to Goku's face, sending the Saiyan plummeting to the surface of the arena. Without hesitation, an enormous ball of destruction energy was thrown down at the Saiyan, who was fastened to the ground. The ball was packed with concentrated destructive energy, and it was traveling fast. Immediately upon contact, the blast had exploded, creating an explosion large to swallow the entire planet. "Father," yelled Gohan as he felt that Goku had suffered the full force of that attack. However, to the left of Gohan, Broly could be seen overlapping his arm, showcasing a look of pure confidence. "Calm down, Gohan, your father is okay." Suddenly, as the smoke and dust dissipates from the arena, Vegeta could be seen levitating midair with Goku standing beside him. However, to everyone's surprise, Goku was no longer in his Ultra Instinct 3 form as he had now dropped down to Ultra Instinct. "Broly, did you see that?" responded Gohan. "If you look closely, upon the moment of contact, huge portions of divine energy were pulled out of Father's body and had fused together with Iraq's own aura." "Vegeta, you notice it, don't you?" said Goku. "He does have the ability to siphon our energy. However, our observations were wrong. He can't just siphon our abilities by us being near him. A blow has to be landed, either by him or by us." "But that puts us in an even more difficult position," said Vegeta. "How in hell are we going to defeat him if we can't even touch him?" "I don't know, but what I do know is that energy is getting too powerful, and he is getting stronger by the second. We need to overpower him somehow." "Vegeta," said Goku, "you know what we have to do, right? We need to pump so much energy in him that his body wouldn't be able to absorb it all." "That's ludicrous," yelled Vegeta. "This thing was able to absorb both of our strongest forms easily. What makes you think he can't just siphon the energy from that form as well?" "Let's experiment with it," said Goku. Let's try something we've never done before, and that's combining my Ultra Instinct with your Ultra Ego. We might be able to go even higher as the fusion would replenish our depleted energy." "What?" said Vegeta. "We've never done anything remotely close to that. Kakarot, if our energy wave link isn't precise down to the molecule, we risk completely draining all of our energy. We would be sitting ducks." "We are out of options," said Goku. "If we allow Gohan and Broly to join, he might have stolen their energy as well. You know, fusion magnifies our powers significantly. The strength we would achieve would be light years ahead, far greater than all four of us together. So are you in or out?" "Damn it," yelled Vegeta. "I hate when I have to rely on that technique." "Have you finished concocting your little plan of attack yet?" asked Rock. "You mortals are quite interesting. Possessing this much divine energy is no easy feat. I'm more impressed with you, purple hair guy." "Me?" responded Vegeta. "Yes, you," said Rock. "Even though you're not a pure breed destruction energy user like myself, you've somehow managed to take the form far beyond its initial mastery, unlocking new forms that not even my race knew existed. That is truly exemplary. Thanks to my dark siphoning ability, that power now belongs to me," he said while a sinister grin broke out on his face. Demon God Rock was patient as he could tell that the Saiyans were capable of more. His objective was to destroy the Omni King. However, he would need to acquire a lot of power to execute his plans. You see, even though he possesses dark siphoning, in no way is he invincible. One would have to possess infinite strength, or no strength at all, to defeat that ability. That's why it is imperative that he gains as much energy as he can. This is due to the fact that as his power increases, so does his abilities. Suddenly, the atmosphere got quiet as the lighting from their aura started to become transparent. This is what every viewer was waiting for as Goku and Vegeta started to do the fusion dance. The lighting emanating from their auras suddenly became transparent, bringing about what the audience has always wanted. As Goku and Vegeta began their fusion dance, the backlash from the transformation was terrifying as the entire arena was overrun with dark divine ki entry. The entire multiverse began to tremble under its grasp. Everything was out of balance as the ultimate divine being was created. "I guess now that you've transformed, you've started to second-guess yourself on allowing me the time to transform." Suddenly, it is revealed to be Ultra Gogeta, who walks up covered in the dark ominous electricity we once thought was synonymous to only Demon God Rock. "What, Father?" "Vegeta," yelled Gohan. "What have you become?" "Gogeta, it's been decades since I've last seen this form." Broly's cocky demeanor had diminished as he had no idea that the Saiyans would utilize this form once more. "That form, it's the same one they used to defeat me. The energy radiating from them is stifling. To think that they had taken this form to such a level. I thought I was the strongest, but now, I'm not so sure if I could even come close to that power." What did he just do?" shouted Demon God Rock. "Is he even the same person? His powers have magnified tenfold. I can't sense a limit." While Gogeta just smiles as he stares dead at the evil god and replies, "Oh, it's me, Rock, just a little different. You know, just far stronger than you are now. You're going to regret letting me fuse." Rock quickly manages to calm down while muttering to himself, "Wait, this is exactly the power I need. Fusing that power with my own is exactly the strength I need to possess if I want to defeat the damn angel. Then I can take his power and proceed to challenge the Omni King." The god began to laugh uncontrollably, thinking that he was just granted an opportunity, not knowing what kind of power Ultra Gogeta now possesses. "Your power is mine, just you wait. You won't have that confident smirk in a few minutes." So our story continues with the evil god Rock laughing profusely at the sight of seeing an Ultra Gogeta. At first, the evil god was devastated after feeling the Saiyans' overwhelming godly aura, but upon further observation, Rock had made light of the situation, realizing that the Saiyans' newfound power could be of great importance. Rock had believed that their strength could even be the deciding factor needed to one day take down the Omni King and his subordinates, so with that goal in mind, he had set his sights on siphoning the Saiyans' remaining power for himself. The god's laughter was silent at first, however, it suddenly began to increase at a slow pace. Louder and louder it echoed, sending frightful tremors throughout the null realm, spilling violently into the known world. "Great, he has dropped his guard," yelled Gogeta before waving his hand calmly across the battle area, sending out a flock of wind and godly aura, dangerously cutting the evil god in his face, narrowly missing his eyes. "What was that?" yelled Rock as though, to him, his guard was up. The god was indeed powerful. However, not even him, with all his might, couldn't comprehend nor anticipate Ultra Gogeta's attack. "He's so fast," the god shouted in pure astonishment. "He's dangerous, I must act fast." Gogeta was very sure of himself and his fused strength. Not even an ounce of fear could be seen upon his confident gaze. Unsurprisingly to the Dragon Ball world, the Fusion Saiyan began smirking profusely as if he had not a care in the world. His muscular frame and his radiant aura said it all. Today marks the day when a new Supreme Being had been created. "Sorry about that, did I catch you by surprise?" the Saiyan uttered. "What do you call a Saiyan who attained the strength of both an angel and a god of destruction while sharing a single body?" Iraq was confused as to what the fused mortal was getting at. Furthermore, he felt as if he was being mocked and disrespected. However, before he could even get a word out, he was rudely cut off once more. "Ultra Gogeta sounds alright," yelled the Saiyans. "I have to admit it, I was a little bit unsure that this would work due to our abilities being opposite in nature, but by the faith of the multiverse, it looks like it came out pretty good." Instantly, the fear and confusion that was once seen on the evil god's face was quickly replaced with a terrifying smirk. The god was very confident in his arsenal of techniques and abilities passed down by his father. He felt as if he was fully equipped with both the skills and techniques needed to subjugate such a foe. After all, that was what he was created for. Iraq's sole purpose was to defeat the Omni King. If he can't take down the opponent standing in front of him, what chance does he have against the King of Everything? With that in mind, the evil god spoke. "I guess I can live with that. The more power you attain, the more power left for me to siphon. Those two I fought before were starting to bore me anyway, maybe now I may have some decent competition." The atmosphere was starting to get rigorous, the air along with the wind was starting to feel intoxicated. Both warriors' gaze was fixated on the other. However, the overconfident smirk on Gogeta's face was starting to piss the evil god off. "Cut that out," he yelled while charging up a planetary-sized ball of destruction energy before firing it directly at the fused Saiyan, not caring who or what he hurt in the process. Both Gohan and Broly hurriedly flew in an upward direction, opposite to the blast, so did the gods with the thought of getting out of the ball of destruction's explosion radius. The blast came down at a rapid pace, sucking up the air like a vacuum. A huge chunk of the arena had completely been destroyed, leaving only a fraction of space for the battle to commence. However, impressively, Gogeta hadn't taken a single step forward. In fact, the fused Saiyan did something that was truly unexpected to the Dragon Ball world, shocking every being within the vicinity of the battle and was fortunate enough to witness it with their own eyes. Immediately on contact, Ultra Gogeta flew inside the core of the blast, showcasing the same confident expression as before on his face. Due to the mixture of divine keys swirling on the inside, the blast became super volatile, triggering an enormous explosion that could be seen and felt from light years away. The heat and power generated from the explosion was so powerful that it managed to reach far beyond the outskirts of the Null Realm. Not long after, the colliding shockwaves had interacted with the natural gases within the few planets it had overlapped, causing its immediate destruction. Back on the battlefields, deep within Section 444. The blast had already ignited, leaving nothing but smoke and lightning residue as the aftermath. Suddenly, not long after, Iraq burst into laughter as after the blast had exploded, 90% of the force and aura dispersed in the atmosphere had been fully siphoned and absorbed in his body. Iraq felt that his blast had dealt a large amount of damage to the Saiyan due to him exerting huge amounts of energy inside the blast trying to keep it contained. "You fool," he yelled. "At the end, it was your cockiness and overconfidence that led to your downfall." However, unbeknownst to the god, buried deep within the smoke and dust was an unfazed, undamaged, unhurt Ultra Gogeta, standing tall, covered in the new type of dark and white electric aura synonymous to him only. "Thanks a lot," he replied. "That was a very good warm-up," while patting down his muscles and brushing off his clothes. "What?" yelled Iraq as he was stunned out of his mind. How in the hell did he survive that? I felt his aura dispersed, which I then absorbed. So why is this thing standing before me? "Nice bravado," shouted the evil god. "I bet you won't talk so confidently after I get my hands on you. It doesn't matter how much a straight face you put on, I know you're only running on adrenaline. Furthermore, I've absorbed quite a large portion of your powers, so I'm far more powerful than I was before." Ultra Gogeta had grown quite fed up with Iraq's trash talk, so not wanting to waste any more precious time, the fused Saiyan began to power up, drawing in natural and life energy from throughout the nearest universe. That's Gogeta alright, responded Beast Gohan. Always taking their time when powering up, even though they know that the fusion has a 30-minute time limit. That confidence is going to be the death of them someday. What do you mean, replied Broly, as he had only witnessed this character once before, and that was during their battle on planet Vampa. I forgot you don't know of this technique, responded Gohan. Well, this is fusion, and it's only attainable through performing a special method called fusion dance. However, putting aside the massive boost in power, speed, and agility the fusion provides, one can only maintain this fusion for 30 minutes before splitting back apart. You don't say, replied Broly, as he was fascinated by this outcome. Unexpectedly, he yelled out to Gogeta. Hey, Vegeta, Goku, I mean Gogeta, whatever your name is. You two fools better stop messing around and finish this fight now, before I have to step in and end him myself. End me, don't make me laugh, replied Arok. As it stands, it seems that the only thing you mortals were blessed with is a big mouth with nothing to back it up. Suddenly, Ultra Gogeta vanishes. The fused Saiyan was traveling at top speed, causing reality to shatter as we know it. Instantly, in less than nanoseconds, the god had suffered a devastating blow to his ribcage, knocking the very essence out of him. Immediately, as expected, Arok drops to his knees as he could be seen fighting to catch his breath. This being moves so fast, I can't activate my word soul magic ability if I can't see him to react. Ultra Gogeta had unexpectedly dismantled Arok's word soul magic technique without even realizing it. They have completely discovered a flaw in Arok's ability that not even Arok knew he had. Impossible, he yelled while still clutching his stomach. My word soul magic is a divine art, ranked highly among the 5 strongest fighters protecting the Omni King. Anyone possessing God Ki should be affected by it, so how did a few monkeys manage to get by undetected? Could my divine art be flawed somehow? The tables have been turned, and the evil god wasn't prepared. In order for his word soul magic to affect its opponents, the opponent has to possess God Ki. That was the only weakness known about this technique. However, it wasn't looked upon as a weakness due to there having never been a mortal without, or with a God Ki that could come close to defeating an angel. Now, surprisingly to him, a new flaw had unintentionally revealed itself. It turns out that in order for word soul magic to be activated, one has to be able to see and anticipate where their opponents are and when they're going to attack. In this case, Ultra Gogeta was simply moving too fast to be tracked. Before, this technique was deemed unbeatable, as the Saiyan hadn't possessed the speed necessary to challenge him. Also, they had never known about the ability not affecting anyone without a God Ki. Henceforth, that is the reason Broly and Gohan were observing from the sidelines. But, now that the Saiyans have fused, they have gained access to each other's forms and abilities. Due to them fusing in their most powerful forms at the time, which had already possessed extraordinary speed. Every stat, potential, technique, and abilities has now been significantly magnified. Suddenly, the god managed to make it back to his feet, but not before stumbling a little. I need more power, Arok muttered to himself before gazing over at the remaining 9 gods of destruction, alongside both Gohan and Broly. Suddenly, just like Majin Buu did back in Dragon Ball Z, Arok secretly separated parts of his body and sent it towards them. One at the 2 Saiyans and one at the remaining gods of destruction, with the goal of forcefully fusing together with them all, hoping to make their power his own. This was Arok's final ability, and he was banking everything on it. At first, he thought about using it on Ultra Gogeta, but the risk was too great, so he decided on targeting the easier foe as a precaution. Soon after his skin separation, he proceeded to disguise this act by charging in at Ultra Gogeta, hoping to throw everyone off what his real plan was. With speed less than milliseconds, the god appears like an infant of Ultra Gogeta, while following up with a huge blow. However, at his current level, Arok's speed and attack was nothing to him, proven by how easily he caught Arok fist. This monster, Arok mutters internally. I hate to admit it, but he's leagues ahead of me. It's hard to believe that such a mortal exists. Instantly the god quickly jumps back, however Ultra Gogeta wouldn't let him. Only 10 minutes remaining for Gogeta's fusion to run out. Knowing this fact, he proceeded to get on the attack, delivering multiple rapid speed blows to the face and body of the evil god. Unexpectedly, to everyone watching at home, the fused Saiyan wasn't finished as yet. As for his final attack, he managed to plunge his entire arm through Arok's stomach, causing the gods to cough up blood. Suddenly, after releasing him, the god could be seen plummeting to the arena surface with a huge hole in the middle of his stomach. Within seconds, his somewhat lifeless body had made contact with the ground, creating a huge crater on impact. Suddenly, an enormous dust cloud covers the land, while dark, ominous lightning residue dangerously sparks around the evil god's body. "It's finally over," replied Beast Gohan as he hovered alongside Broly in the arena. "Finally," he yelled, his face contorted in an ominous expression. "That monster is down. Now, we can focus on more pressing issues, like taking out those gods over there." Suddenly, to what may come as a surprise by all, shocking Gohan in the process. Broly's Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 form was no more, as he had run through the time limit that form provides. "Shit," he yelled as he could only watch as his radiant red hair form vanished along with its provided stat boost. "I won't be able to access that form for some time. Thankfully, I can still go any level up to Super Saiyan 3 if needed, but I doubt I'll ever need to." To my anticipation, these gods have used up quite a large portion of their destruction power, and most of them are on their last legs. What's even better, that demon fellow is now pronounced dead. Broly's transition to base form was visible to see by all, and trust me when I say this, his drastic fall from grace didn't go unnoticed by the gods. Ever since Gogeta arrived at the battlefield, they have been impatiently watching the fight very vigilantly, praying for an opportunity to present itself. The 9 remaining gods of destruction watched the fight from a distance, quietly replenishing their energy and stamina. One of the gods, Moscow, activates his special ability, and that was to restore a small amount of god ki and energy. However, one has to drink small drops of his blood, and it has to be drank within a minute of being exposed to the carbon dioxide in the air. Knowing this fact, he came out of the mecha armor and slashed his finger. Suddenly, with not even a second thought, he offered his blood to his fellow gods of destruction. At first, they were a bit hesitant as they had drank his blood before, while training with the angels, and they all knew what it does to him having to replenish so much god ki. However, they had no other choice, time was running out. Feeling grateful, they had accepted the blood, and each god drank one after the other. Feeling their strength and vitality returning, Moscow watched as they drank, a small smile on his face. He knew that he had an important role to play if he wanted to survive the next battle. The first phase of their initial strategy had been successfully executed, and the Saiyans had finally defeated Iraq. However, their victory had come with a few setbacks, as their foolproof plan had not accounted for the Saiyans' ability to fuse. Nevertheless, this marked the beginning of the final phase of their conniving plan. "This exposes a major problem," said Jin. "The Saiyans have found a way to fuse beyond the Patara. Furthermore, that fusion was able to effortlessly kill Iraq, which shows how powerful it is." Iraq was a force to be reckoned with, a level of power that surpassed any present or past god of destruction. Knowing this fact, the gods had hoped that the Saiyans would exhaust all of their energy attempting to defeat Iraq, but not once had they ever anticipated the arrival of a fusion at such a late stage in the battle. This way of fusion was a concept foreign to the gods, one that they had only heard of in relation to the use of Patara earrings. As the fusion stood before them, the gods were filled with a sense of dread and uncertainty. They had never faced an opponent of this caliber before, and they knew that they were outmatched. "This complicates things," Champa yelled. The plan was to have them separately exhaust all their stamina and energy throughout an extended fight. This unheard of fusion contradicts this strategy. "It's quite obvious that the 2 Saiyans hovering to our far left can't maintain their form for long," said Belmont. This was confirmed by that red monkey fellow dropping back to his base form in the middle of an ongoing battle. "Soon, the white hair freak will also follow, it's just a matter of time." "But what about the other 2 troublesome Saiyans?" Iwan replied. "Now that they have fused, they are stronger than ever before, far beyond the scope of their individual powers." "It sure would be nice to hear from the Grand Priest right about now," yelled Sidra, who could be seen with a troubled expression on his face. His mind was puzzled as to why none of the angels nor the Grand Priest had made their entrances yet. "Yes," replied Moscow. "Where is he? I'm sure he's aware of the situation we're in now. Even though the ambush failed, he was the one who orchestrated the whole thing. So for him to just abandon us in our time of need is blasphemy." "Keep your big mouth shut," Hellas yelled. "Remember that he's with a being that can hear and know everything. If we somehow manage to escape this situation, I don't want to be on their bad side. It's best to be cautious and keep our thoughts to ourselves." Unexpectedly, the atmosphere of the battle had switched far beyond the Null Realm to a place where no other planet exists. This was the palace of the Omni King, a powerful being who reigns over all of existence. The palace was a grand, otherworldly structure with a gleaming wall that seemed to stretch up into the infinite void of the cosmos. There the Grand Priest and Zeno stood motionless, their eyes were fixed on the globe, watching the scene before them. The two leaders seemed unfazed by the chaos that was unfolding, however, one reacted as if he had seen it all before. Their calm and collected demeanor was in stark contrast to the frenzied energy that the fusion was releasing. Those Saiyans are no longer mortals, the energy they now possess when fused is almost comparable to him, that Saiyan from Universe 13. Akuma, the fifth strongest being in all of existence. Sire, said the Grand Priest, bowing his head respectfully. If I may ask, I am confused by your decision to prevent me from intervening. Why have you refrained me from assisting the gods? I'm afraid I don't understand this sudden change of heart. I remember that day vividly, back in episode 17, you gave me the go-ahead to exterminate the Saiyans as I saw fit. I'm not questioning your decision, my lord, said the Grand Priest with a troubled expression. But I would like to know what has changed between then and now. With a single, graceful movement, the King of All stood up, his eyes blazing with dangerous intensity. His mere presence commanded respect, and it was clear that he would not tolerate being questioned. As the Grand Priest stood before the mighty Omni King, he was overcome with a feeling he had never before experienced, fear. His body stiffened as he tried to maintain a confident posture, keeping his hands clasped behind his back and his head held high, but he couldn't bring himself to meet the Omni King's gaze. This was the first time anyone had ever seen the Grand Priest show fear, and the power of the Omni King was palpable in the air. Immediately, it felt like a nightmare waiting for the Omni King's response. However, with just a few statements, he spoke. Daishinkan, said the Omni King, I have foreseen future events and things are going as intended. You are my most old and trusted attendant. You have always been there for me, serving me hand and foot. It is only right that I let you in on everything. Can you elaborate further? The Grand Priest asked, trying to clarify the situation. It was unusual for someone to speak in such a cryptic manner, and the Grand Priest was eager to understand what was being implied. The look upon his face showcases pure confusion and curiosity. Do you recall the time when Salama, my first mortal creation, was still present in this dimension? Said the Omni King. He had consumed a crucial substance of mine, one that is necessary for the successful execution of a task I have set in motion. Indeed, your lordship, the Grand Priest replied with enthusiasm. You are referring to the Fountain of Creation, a sacred and revered site within the outskirts of the palace. Yes, replied the Omni King. This came as a shock to the Grand Priest as this event had happened billions of years ago, and ever since that fateful day, the well-renowned Fountain of Creation had dried up completely, leaving only an empty statue behind. My lord, while the Fountain of Creation was significant in the past, I am unsure of its relevance to the current situation. I will not explain my reasons to you, as you are still my servant. However, I can tell you that all of this has been foreseen and orchestrated by me. What? The Grand Priest yelled, his voice echoing through the chamber. He was visibly shaken, his face a mixture of confusion and disbelief. You're telling me that every battle, every death, and every single event that has transpired was all puppeteered by you? The Grand Priest's mind was racing, trying to wrap his head around this revelation. He had never witnessed anything like this before, and the idea that everything he had known was a mere illusion was almost too much to bear. Yes, it's exactly as I stated before, Zeno replied. I am the one who initiated this entire plan. I was the one who implanted those doubts into the minds of the gods of destruction by causing them to feel as if Goku was the one responsible for the tournament of power. This was all part of my strategy to create resentment and fear among the gods that, one day, I might choose Goku over the entire multiverse. My ultimate goal was to manipulate the gods into believing that Goku was a threat to their existence, and to ultimately use them to start this series of unfortunate events. But why, responded the Grand Priest as all this happened under his watchful nose. You could have told me, I would have stood by you. In this situation, I couldn't ask you to do something that would burden you again, as I did billions of years ago. Everything has a purpose, and in this case, it is to unseal the doorway to Dimension 4, the exact realm where your wife was banished. The scene quickly changes to the desolate landscape of Earth, where the ominous, crumbling evil containment jar towers over the surrounding area. Within the jar, the powerful and dangerous god of destruction, Lord Beerus, stirs restlessly. It has been over 2 years since he was sealed within the jar, but his immense strength and destructive energy have only continued to grow, causing the cracks in the jar to spread further and further each day. As the jar struggles to contain his immense power, it becomes clear that the fate of Universe 7 hangs in the balance. Suddenly, we saw a few familiar faces standing outside the hyperbolic time chamber. They were guarding the evil containment jar that was sealed inside the room. Time seemed to stand still as they watched the god of destruction, knowing that the fate of the entire planet rests upon them, keeping the force locked inside the jar at bay. Considering the ongoing growth of the crack in the jar, both Piccolo and Master Roshi decided it would be best to keep it confined within the room of time. This would prevent any potential escape, even if Lord Beerus were able to break free from the jar. However, the Z warriors failed to consider the consequences of placing the jar inside the room of time, as they were unaware of the fact that time moves differently within the hyperbolic time chamber. This ultimately proved to be a reckless and irresponsible decision, as they had not properly thought through the potential repercussions. On the day Lord Beerus was sealed, a prophecy foretold that the Earth had 4 years before he would break free. However, due to the acceleration of time within the hyperbolic time chamber, those 4 years were reduced to just 2. The aging process of the jar increased its volatility, making it more likely that Lord Beerus would soon escape. On January 5th, a catastrophic event occurred when Lord Beerus, a powerful being, unleashed his enhanced and awakened power throughout the planet's atmosphere. The jar containing his power was unable to contain its destructive force, causing destruction and chaos on a universal scale. His blind destruction key, that was locked away in the room of time, had shattered reality as the power of Lord Beerus was finally released. On this day, January 5, 2023, signifies the return of Lord Beerus, who is now even more powerful and terrifying than before.
Dende, who was present at the time, could feel the exact moment when the entrance to the room of time collapsed, and so with that little time he believed the Earth had left, he quickly used his telepathic abilities to inform Piccolo of the situation. Despite Dende's efforts, Piccolo was already aware of their dire circumstances. The entire planet was in a state of panic as natural disasters began to ravage the planet. As the camera focused on Lord Beerus, it was clear that his mind was made up. There was no turning back now. The destruction of planet Earth was inevitable. Planet Earth must be destroyed, he stated angrily, his voice filled with authority. But before I do that, I must take care of some unfinished business with those troublesome Saiyans. The camera then cut to a close-up of Lord Beerus as he let out a loud and commanding call. Wheeze. But there was no answer. Confusion etched on his face, he exclaimed, "Where is he? He always arrived when I summoned him." Beerus proceeds to call out a few more times for his angel attendant. However, to his surprise, Wheeze was nowhere to be found. Suspecting something amiss, Beerus remembered the last people who were with Wheeze before his imprisonment were Goku, Gohan, Vegeta and Broly. Could they have defeated Wheeze? Beerus pondered to himself. That's impossible. Given their current strength, Wheeze is leagues above them. But still, Beerus couldn't shake off the feeling that something was not right. He knew he had to investigate further. Suddenly, as Lord Beerus was about to depart for Bulma's mansion, Dende, who had been lurking nearby, emerged and trembled before the god of destruction. "Lord Beerus, if I may ask, are you planning on destroying the Earth?" Dende asked with a quivering voice. But Lord Beerus was in no mood for conversation. His mind was set on destroying the Earth and the Saiyans, his eyes glinting with a cold and deadly intent. "Tread carefully, mortal," Lord Beerus warned in a menacing tone. "Your death is already certain. It's your choice if you want it to happen now or later." Dende was paralyzed with fear. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he started to question his decision to approach Lord Beerus, but he knew that the fate of the entire planet was at stake. He tried his best to persuade the god of destruction, his voice barely audible. "My lord, we know that in your presence, we are nothing but mere mortals, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But please, can you look the other way, just this once?" Dende implored, his entire body shaking. "I said move," Lord Beerus replied with a deadly gaze. The god was serious, so much that seconds later, he raised his hand, ready to destroy Dende using his Hakai technique. The energy emanating from his hand was so intense that the Guardian could feel the heat radiating on his face. His very soul couldn't bear the pressure and terror of the god's wrath. "Ha!" Beerus began, his voice filled with ominous power,
echoing like thunder across the barren wasteland. But before he could finish that terrifying word, he was interrupted by the sudden arrival of Piccolo. "No, Lord Beerus," Piccolo shouted, his determination evident in his voice. Instantly, he fires a powerful energy blast directly at the god of destruction. Beerus, who was mere seconds away from destroying Dende, reacted with lightning speed. With a swift movement of his right hand, he effortlessly deflected the blast, sending it hurtling into the distance. All while maintaining his devastating Hakai technique with his left hand, up close and personal in Dende's face. "Kai," Beerus exclaimed, "finish the word that completed the technique." "Sorry, Guardian, but your luck has run out." In an instant, a brilliant flash of light engulfed Dende, tearing apart his body and soul from within. The Guardian's screams echoed for miles as he experienced unimaginable pain. In a blink of an eye, it was over. Dende was gone, his existence erased from the universe, leaving no trace in memories or any afterlife. "You monster," Piccolo exclaimed, horrified by the devastating power of Lord Beerus. The scope of the destruction was unfathomable, leaving behind only the echoes of Dende's final screams. "He killed him, he really did it," Piccolo shouted in shock, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Who did he kill? What just happened, Piccolo?" Tien asked, arriving on the scene with the rest of the Z fighters seconds after it happened. In a flash, Lord Beerus sprang into action, appearing directly in front of Tien. The monk trembled in fear, however. Surprisingly to the viewers watching at home, the situation was not as it seemed. Tien was not just trembling from fear, he was frozen in place as Lord Beerus ran his hand through his chest. Blood spewed from the wound as Tien choked on his own blood, the light slowly fading from his eyes as he fell lifelessly to the surface of Kami's lookout. "Tien," Krillin yelled, followed by cries of outrage from the other Z fighters. Lord Beerus stood victorious, a cold-hearted killer who had just taken the life of one of their own. The group of warriors stood in shock, their hearts heavy with grief and anger. But they knew one thing for certain: even if they wanted to avenge Tien's death, they simply don't have the power to. "Leave now," Piccolo yelled, his voice thundering through the air. "All of you, get out of here. He's too powerful, you're only going to get yourselves killed. I will fight him. This is what I've been training for. I will not let Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan down any further." Piccolo's eyes blazed with determination and fury. His training had led him to this moment, and he was not about to let his friends and allies fall. The fear that had gripped him moments ago was nowhere to be found, replaced by a fierce determination to protect those he cared about. The Z fighters looked at each other, the truth of Piccolo's words hitting them hard. They knew that they were not strong enough to defeat Lord Beerus, and they reluctantly flew off in the opposite direction, realizing that they would only get in his way. Piccolo stood alone, ready to face his destiny, knowing that the fate of the planet rested on his shoulders. The small smirk on the god's face quickly turned to a scowl as he charged towards the Z fighters, determined to stop them from leaving. But to his surprise, Piccolo, the man full of pain, suddenly vanished without a trace. The god's expression turned to one of shock as Piccolo reappeared in front of him, shutting down his advance. With his head held high in a confident tone, Piccolo spoke. "Your fight is with me now." The god sneered. Well, Namekian, it seems you have leveled up a bit, but do you really think you stand a chance against me? Just be a good lackey and tell me where those Saiyans are hiding. I have a bone to pick with them." Piccolo was angry, and his face was set in a fierce determination as the memory of his fallen friends continues to fuel his rage. "They're not available at the moment," he said, his voice steadily deepens. "What?" Beerus sneered. "I guess I have no further use for this planet then." With that, he began charging up a massive ball of destruction. The size of the blast was staggering, and its power was radiant as it kept increasing at a tremendous pace. The ball of destruction was visible to see and felt by all in Satan City and far around the world. The planet trembled as the god prepared to unleash his devastating attack, but Piccolo, the last Namekian alive on Earth, stood firm, ready to defend his planet by any means necessary. "Farewell, Namekian, you and this planet. It's such a shame, there's so many novelties here that I've yet to try." As Lord Beerus looked on, Piccolo began to transform before his very eyes. The Namekian warrior's power surged tremendously, breaking through the bounds of reality as the green dragon within him emerged, merging seamlessly into his newly attained Namekian form. His power was radiant like the sun, while his aura was burning hot, showcasing the Namekian symbol of pride activated on his back. Slowly Orange Piccolo walked toward the god with his face stiffened as if he had no fear and was out for blood. Beerus, taken aback by the sudden display, jumped back in surprise as he had no idea that Piccolo was capable of such feats. The ball of huge destruction instantly vanishes, leaving no residual energy to trace. Lord Beerus, with his guard now raised, watches the Namekian as he approaches, ready for whatever was to come. It seems quite a lot has happened while I was imprisoned, Beerus thought to himself. This Namekian is on par with Goku when he was back in the Tournament of Power. I can sense that lizard inside him, as they fused somehow. Who would have thought that those two fusing could have produced this much power? Beerus was shocked. However, something had snapped in his mind as he soon started viewing this as an opportunity to test the levels of his newly acquired strength. This is excellent, he said aloud, as a smirk creeped onto his face. For 2 years I had no one to test my powers on. It seems Grand Zeno has granted me this favor. Come, Namekian, he shouted in excitement. Show me what that power is truly capable of. With those words, the battle between the god and the Namekian began. Piccolo blasts with tremendous speed, leaving his very shadow behind in the process. A clash of raw and untapped power was released into the universe when both warriors' fists collided. The ground shook and the skies roared as the two warriors were locked in a battle. The air crackled with energy as the two warriors locked eyes. Piccolo stood tall, his aura burning bright, while Beerus stood coolly, a smirk on his face. Without warning, Piccolo lunged forward, his fist glowing with power as he aimed for Beerus's face. But the god was quick, dodging the punch with ease and retaliating with a swift kick to the Namekian's stomach, followed by a chop to the neck just like he did Goku in the Battle of God movie. Piccolo grunted in pain but quickly recovered, his eyes flashing with determination as the fight started to get heated. Instantly, he unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks, each one imbued with the power of the Namekian dragon fused within him. Beerus, impressed by the Orange Piccolo's strength, decided to take the fight seriously and fought back with equal ferocity. The two clashed, their power causing rifts in the fabric of space and time. As the battle raged on, the Piccolo began to tap into 50% of his true power. His body began to glow as he unleashed a powerful energy blast, while Beerus's aura expanded as he summoned a massive destruction energy sphere. Impressively, the two attacks collided, creating a blinding explosion, shaking the planet to its core. The Z fighters watched in shock as they watched the battle raged on before their eyes. The energy emanating from the combatants was powerful enough to make time stop for less than a second before picking back up. Suddenly, a moment of shock and disbelief washed over the Z fighters as Kami's lookout, the sacred lookout of the Guardian of Earth, was unable to withstand the sheer force of the colliding attacks. The ancient structure, a testament to the power of the gods, crumbled under the pressure, the once majestic towers and spires now nothing but rubble as it plummeted to the ground. The earth shook and the sky turned red, yet the power of the battle still hasn't reached its climax. The sky was set ablaze with energy as Lord Beerus and Orange Piccolo clashed in a battle of epic proportions. The earth shook with each impact, and the humans living in Satan City were petrified with fear. As the two warriors faced off, Beerus spoke, his voice echoing through the devastated landscape. "Where are those Saiyans hiding, Green Man? I have a bone to pick with each and every one of those monkeys. Especially the one they call Brawly." Orange Piccolo sneered at the god, his eyes narrowing in at Beerus. Suddenly, as if he knew what Lord Beerus wanted the entire time, he spoke. "As we speak, the Saiyans are busy killing off the remaining gods of destruction." Piccolo was pleased to share this news with Beerus, knowing that it would make the god uneasy. "Rumshi was the first to fall," Piccolo added. "It's been a year since that event, and I'm sure the Saiyans have long defeated even more gods since then." With a wicked smile, Piccolo showed no compassion for the gods. Beerus was shocked, his eyes widened with utter disbelief. "I'm afraid I don't follow," replied the god. "What do you mean by the Saiyans are killing the gods of destruction?" he yelled, his face twisting with emotion. Suddenly realization struck. Beerus had remembered his first encounter with the Saiyans and how he had learned of their plans. So they're really going through with it, he thought to himself, his expression faded at the thought of such treason. "So that's why Whis didn't answer my calls," he muttered to himself. He might be busy fixing this mess. Beerus let out a sigh of relief, a small smile appearing on his face. "Yes, that has to be it. Even if they are working together, those Saiyans are no match for Whis," he said confidently. The god of destruction, in all his power and glory, laughed wholeheartedly as he realized that the situation at hand was now a universal crisis. No longer were the restrictions on angels intervening in mortal affairs a hindrance, as the stakes were far too high to allow for such limitations. Those Saiyans are probably dead by now, he declared with confidence, knowing that the angels' immense strength would be enough to put an end to their reign of terror. He thought about the situation for a moment, trying to make sense of all of this. I need to get in touch with Whis as soon as possible and find out what's going on, he thought. The last thing we need is the balance of the universe being thrown off. More importantly, angering the Omni King. Beerus suddenly realized the gravity of the situation. Oh crap, those Saiyans are under my jurisdiction. If they really managed to kill a god, as this weakling spoke of, then my faith in Universe 7 has already been sealed, he exclaimed, his face contorting with fear and frustration. The god's mind dwindled for a second, and it hadn't gone unnoticed by Piccolo, who was trying his best to pick apart Beerus's defense. There, he yelled, sensing that Beerus, the god of destruction, had grown complacent and had allowed his focus to waver from the battlefield. In that moment, Piccolo saw an opportunity to strike, a chance that he may never get again, and he wasn't about to let it slip by. With all his might, the warrior charges up a powerful attack and aims it directly at Beerus, determined to take advantage of this weakness and claim victory for his planet. Instantly, with lightning speed, Orange Piccolo unleashed his most powerful attack, the Special Beam Cannon. He aimed the blast directly at Beerus, the god of destruction, determined to defeat him once and for all. The energy blast shot through the air, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Beerus barely had time to react before the beam hit him head-on. Piccolo's eyes glinted with a sense of pride. Due to my fusion with Shenron, I've perfected the Special Beam Cannon. The time needed to fully charge it has dropped dramatically, now taking only a mere 10 seconds, he said with a smirk. It's too late for you, Beerus, there's no escaping it. Piccolo had gotten him, yelled Krillin, who was still observing the battle from a distance. However, just as the Special Beam Cannon was about to strike its target, a strange thing happened. The energy blast, which should have been powerful enough to destroy anything in its path, suddenly disintegrated into nothingness before it could make contact with Beerus. The Z warriors were shocked, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Had Piccolo's attack been nullified by the god of destruction's immense power, or was there something else at play? They thought to themselves. What? Shouted Piccolo, disbelief etched on his face. But how? What just happened? He stammered, unable to process what his eyes were seeing. Beerus, meanwhile, remained unscathed, a smirk playing across his lips as he watched Orange Piccolo's frustration grow. It was clear that the Z warriors had underestimated the god of destruction, and now he was about to make them pay the ultimate price. You're no match for me, Namekian, he said coldly. Don't go getting cocky now. This transformation of yours is quite impressive, I'll give you that at least, especially for a Namekian. However, your power still pales in comparison to a destroyer. Piccolo's eyes narrowed in anger. I won't let you mock me, he growled, while trying to muster up all of his power. I'll show you what I'm truly capable of. Beerus simply raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. Very well, he said, as his body was now covered with destruction energy. Show me what you've got. In an instant, Piccolo unleashed a torrent of power unlike anything the people of Earth had ever seen. The ground beneath him shook and trembled, unable to withstand the sheer force of his energy. The sky above darkened as his power surged to levels beyond comprehension. Beerus, the god of destruction, was taken aback by the sheer magnitude of Piccolo's power. He stood frozen, watching in disbelief as the planet began to crack and crumble under the relentless assault of energy that one lonely Namekian was pushing out. The very fabric of the universe seemed to warp and bend under the pressure of Piccolo's power. The air around them crackled with electricity, as the force of his power spread out like a shockwave, reaching to the very edges of the cosmos. And yet, despite the sheer scale of Piccolo's power, Beerus remained unafraid. The god of destruction was no stranger to power, but even he couldn't deny feeling excited at the sight of seeing Piccolo at 100% power. You've terrorized this universe long enough, Piccolo yelled, his voice brimming with power. It's time for you to meet the same fate as your angel. What are you talking about? Beerus asked, a hint of confusion in his voice. What do you mean by meeting the same fate as my angel? This doesn't sound like a threat directed toward me. Oh, I see, Piccolo replied, his tone casual. My apologies, I forgot that you were sealed away. How could you have known? Piccolo's words carried a hint of amusement, as if he were teasing the god of destruction. Your precious angel is dead, and has been dead for a long time now. Beerus's heart stopped at the news. His eyes widened in disbelief as the realization of Whis' death sank deeper and deeper into his mind. You're lying, he shouted, his words directed at Piccolo. How could Whis, my angel and mentor, be dead? This simply cannot be true. Beerus's anger was palpable, his voice echoing, hinting a sign of danger as he confronted Piccolo. The god of destruction refused to believe that the one being in the universe who had always been by his side could be gone. He stood firm, determined to uncover the truth. Lying? Piccolo replied, his tone casual. Well, why don't you call him and see if he'll show up? A confident smile spread across Piccolo's face as he challenged Beerus. Piccolo's words were a calculated attempt at revenge, a retaliation for Beerus's killing of Dende and Tien. The Namekian warrior was determined to make Beerus feel the same pain and loss that he had experienced. Despite the god of destruction's immense power, Piccolo was unafraid, his own strength and resolve fueled by his desire for revenge. Beerus stood there, his eyes narrowing as he glared at Piccolo. The god of destruction was known for his quick temper, but he was also fiercely intelligent. He would not be baited so easily, and he was determined to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. Suddenly, Beerus began to laugh, a deep, resonating chuckle that echoed through the planet. He refused to believe that Whis could be defeated, his confidence in his mentor's strength unshakable. I see what this is, he said, his tone lightened. You're trying to throw me off my game. Well done, Piccolo. I never knew you had it in you. Beerus was not easily intimidated. He strongly believed that Whis' immense power and confidence was more than a match for even the strongest of opponents. His laughter was a testament to his unwavering faith in his attendant, a demonstration of his belief that his mentor could not be defeated by the Saiyans. Despite Piccolo's attempts at psychological warfare, Beerus remained unfazed, his resolve and determination unchanged. Believe what you will, replied Orange Piccolo with a shrug. But the truth remains, the Saiyans have grown in power. The world has changed, Beerus. You're no longer the only one to be feared. Beerus's fists clenched at his sides, his eyes blazing with anger. Suddenly, a hint of doubt crept into his mind. He knew the potential of the Saiyans, how quickly they grew in power. I've had enough of this, the god yelled, his voice filled with fury. It's time I kill you, and go find those Saiyans. Orange Piccolo chuckled darkly. Good luck with that. Even if you defeated me, defeating those Saiyans is a different story entirely. They are a force to be reckoned with, and you would be wise to remember that. The energy between Beerus and Orange Piccolo was palpable as they prepared for another exchange of blows. The very air around them crackled with power, the pressure building with each passing moment. Suddenly, Beerus let out a deafening roar and launched himself at Piccolo with all the power of a raging star. Piccolo stood his ground, mustering all his power for a counterattack. With a shout of his own, he unleashed a barrage of powerful energy blasts, each one exploding on impact the moment it came into contact with Beerus. The two warriors clashed, their fists releasing a whirlwind of energy, the force of their blows shaking the very foundations of the universe. As they fought, the sky darkened, and the stars danced in the background, adding to the chaos of the epic battle. Beerus and Piccolo continued to trade blows, their power growing with each exchange. The very fabric of space and time seemed to warp and twist around them, their power rippling out in waves that threatened to tear the universe apart. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, there came a moment of stillness. Orange Piccolo stood panting, his entire energy was almost completely used up. Look at him, Krillin shouted, his voice filled with determination. Piccolo can't keep this up for long, but we have to help him. Lord Beerus may have taken down Tien and Dende, but we can't let their sacrifice be in vain. The fate of our planet rests on not just Piccolo's shoulders, but us as well. We can't let it fall. I won't stand idly by and watch as Piccolo fights alone against such a powerful enemy. With Master Roshi, Android 17, and Android 18 by his side, Krillin was ready to face Lord Beerus. He was joined by Yamcha, yes even Yamcha, who was also determined to save their planet. Despite his fear and uncertainty, Krillin refused to back down from the challenge. He knew that his power alone wouldn't be enough to defeat Lord Beerus, but he wouldn't let that stop him from trying. I may not have the strength of Goku or Piccolo, but I won't let that hold me back any longer, Krillin declared, his fists clenched tightly. We can do this, guys. We have to believe in ourselves. This is what we have trained for. Let's show Lord Beerus what we mortals are made of. Beerus, the god of destruction, had grown tired of the ongoing battle. He let out an exasperated sigh, his impatience and boredom clear in his voice as he declared, "I don't have time for this foolishness." But just as he was about to charge at an exhausted Piccolo, Android 17 sprang into action. With lightning speed, he created a powerful circle ball barrier field, trapping Beerus within its confines. The other Z warriors seized the opportunity and descended from above, raining down a barrage of ki blast attacks upon the trapped god. And just as the Z warriors' final attack was about to collide with Beerus, Android 17 made a crucial move. With a deft flick of his wrist, he released the barrier, allowing the full force of the Z warriors' blast to collide with the god of destruction head-on. The sky was illuminated by the bright sparks and stigmas of their attacks, marking the beginning of a catastrophic event. Beerus sighs in Doom, struggling to understand why they are putting up this futile attempt. The ground shook beneath the relentless assault of the Z warriors, their attacks growing more intense with each passing moment. The god of destruction was surrounded on all sides, with no escape from the relentless barrage of energy attacks. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and the sounds of explosions echoed through the sky. But to the surprise of the Z warriors, their attacks were not making any impact. They watched in shock as their energy blasts were being erased from existence, completely neutralized by Beerus's mastery of the Hakai energy of the gods. Beerus stood tall, his form covered head to toe in a glowing aura of destructive energy. The Z warriors' attacks were absorbed by the energy shield, powerless against the sheer power of the god of destruction. The god of destruction let out a triumphant laugh, his power and confidence growing with each passing moment. The Z warriors were stunned, realizing that their combined power was no match for the god of destruction. They stood frozen, watching in surprise as their plans went up in smoke. "What are you doing?" An exhausted Piccolo yelled, desperation and frustration clear in his voice. "Get out of here now. Guys, it's not working," Yamcha replied, his voice heavy with defeat. Despite their efforts, the Z warriors continued to fight, firing ki blasts as if their lives depended on it, unaware of the danger that was about to come their way. Suddenly, something had shocked the Dragon Ball community watching at home, forcing them to stand up from their seats in disbelief. Lord Beerus had let out a loud, rough sneeze, sending each and every attack back to its user with incredible force. His sneeze created a powerful wave of Hakai energy, radiating out and covering the atmosphere around them. The energy pushed back against the attacks, sending them flying back in the opposite direction. The Z warriors were caught off guard, their bodies thrown back as they were hit by their own attacks. The Dragon Ball community watched in horror as the scene unfolded before them, stunned by the sheer power and destruction caused by Beerus the Destroyer. It was a tragic and devastating scene as Yamcha was caught in the crossfire of Beerus's attack. His body was violently eviscerated by the intense radiation that dispersed back into the atmosphere from the god of destruction's Hakai energy.